Now, big news today. Big news, Kalyn Ponga in some drama in Newcastle. It's been all over social media. It's been all over the news today. Buzz, what have you got for us on this one?
On Saturday, Kalyn Ponga, who's out for the rest of the season with head injuries, his team's fighting to avoid the wooden spoon. He's finished only 7 games of football this year, decides to take himself for a night out after purchasing a house, and as you can see on the board there, he's filmed with Kurt Mann and a security guard being asked to leave a toilet cubicle at the Delaney Hotel in Newcastle.
Okay.
There just happened to be someone there filming it.
So Andre Ponga has come out and said that he was sick after celebrating the purchase of the house, and that Kurt Mann was in the toilet with him while he was sick.
BA.
Yeah.
We might have to get Pinocchio out again. We're not believing that fairy tale, are we?
Well, it's not often that you go to the toilet with a mate to throw up,
And
do
both
you?
come out holding your bourbon and cokes.
It's an interesting one.
Look, it's a bad scene.
He didn't have his headgear on. If he had his headgear on, I thought he might have been holding that. But
No, look, I think it's a really, really bad look, and I know the Knights are really concerned about the PR side of it and the culture side of it.
As they should do.
Yeah, for the captain of that club, do you know how serious I think it is? I think he will be stripped of the captaincy.
Is that right?
Over this.
What for, Buzz? What for,
What
Buzz?
for? I thought it'd be obvious, mate. His
No,
team is fighting to avoid the wooden spoon. They had a game against the Broncos on Saturday night at Suncorp Stadium, and he chose to go out and get himself plastered.
Yeah, it's a bad scene. They're both out injured. He's on the drink. They've been pinch coming out
Is
of
he
the
on an alcohol? Is he on an alcohol ban?
Well, I mean, if he's
That's the
had
issue.
concussions, common sense tells you that he should be. Certainly, Kurt Mann is supposed to be on an alcohol ban. But Braith, they tore strips off David Klemmer a week ago, right, for swearing at a trainer on the field. I'd argue this is far more detrimental in terms of negative headlines for the club. And if they're fair dinkum, they'll read the riot act tomorrow morning. Peter Parr will front the media and he will say enough is enough. This is the line in the sand moment. We're not going to tolerate this sort of gibber anymore. And off the back of that, I think both of them are going to have to be issued with breach notices and fines. Because if you're going to breach David Klemmer and fine him for something that was trivial on the field with the trainer, well,
That's a fair
you can't
point.
cop this.
The concern is that Kalyn Ponga is stood down from football because of repeated concussions, and the neurosurgeons have looked at him and said, mate, you have some issues with your brain. You were having headaches long after you got concussed the 3rd time this season, and they've stood him down based on that. And alcohol is just not the right thing to be having with those symptoms. And when it's your brain involved, and he would know that, and that's where he knows he's broken the rule. Like, it's just, forget about the look of it from a health point of view. And long picture, you go down to CTE and the dementia and that route. This accelerates it. Alcohol, particularly with a bruised brain, Kalyn should know better himself, and he needs to start taking things a little bit more serious. Then, second to that, as the leader at the club, the guy who's on over $1 million a year, he's paid more than the coach, he's paid more than everybody in the joint. He has to set a standard. Whether he likes it or not, this is just part of the equation that you agree to when you sign that contract to earn that type of money. You sit there and you say, okay, and it brings a responsibility to it. And
it does.
It might not be popular, you might not like it, but if you've got to cop the $1 million a year,
It doesn't matter.
It comes with it, and that's just the truth of it. And that's where Kalyn's let himself down. And hopefully they sit down and they talk to him and explain to him a few things. And as the leader, as the captain of the club, he has to set a standard. Because I tell you what, the standards at that club are not being adhered to. The standards that the club used to stand for are no longer there.
You know, this isn't just an NRL first grade problem with their culture and their performances. And their New South Wales Cup side was beaten 60 points to 4 by North Sydney Bears over the weekend. So what that shows you is, and why Adam O'Brien has not made team changes to try, they're going awful.
There's no one to bring in.
And so there's also this roster problem in Newcastle and all their underperforming stars on big money. There's the hope of the side, and I don't want to bore you here and start talking junior football, but they've got a cracking hot SG Ball side. who came to Sydney.
Knights fans,
Now, hold on,
with due respect,
just let me
Knights
finish.
fans don't want to hear that now.
No, well, I
they don't
think,
hear about the SG
No,
ball
I wrote
game
about
kid
this morning,
coming through.
James. They're 19-year-old kids, right? And they beat the Sydney Roosters, who are the top
But
side.
they're 3 years away, and
But
only out of those, you get 3 or
exactly.
4 out of them, you're going, okay. You're not
Kenty,
going to get
Buzz,
the
are they
whole
going to
what I'm
save Adam
saying and what
O'Brien's
I
job?
wrote this
Are they going to
morning-
guarantee Adam O'Brien's job beyond next season?
I don't know about Adam O'Brien's job, but what this club needs, and I hate using that word reboot all the time, they need a steady, strategic rebuild. They do.
Buzz,
started
they
this
sacked
conversation
Nathan
with-
Brown. They sacked Nathan Brown 3 years ago and said that they were going to have a steady strategic
So you want them
reboot.
another
That's why
Pong, another
Adam,
Frizzell,
that's
another
why
Clem,
Adam
another-
O'Brien was brought in, was to start a
Well,
steady
what's your plan to fix it,
strategic
James, if
reboot.
you don't
well, I'm
like-
not going to waffle on about SG ball players because
Oh,
that's not
aren't you?
going to fix it for you now.
You don't think it's important to have junior
Of course
pathways?
it is, but it's not going to help. How's that going to help where they are right at the moment?
Start the
It's not,
conversation
but
with I
you're
don't
not-
want to bore you, and I think you bore us.
I do it. Well, it's not hard to bore you.
You've gone off orienteering
Listen,
and we're all asleep.
How did I know you
They haven't got it. They haven't got the luxury of waiting 3 to 4 years for those kids.
Well, what do they- you give me your plan.
Well, what they got? Well, I'll tell you what they've got to do. They've got to start lifting the standards within the joint.
That starts
and the
tomorrow morning.
accountability of the players and the way that they're playing and the way they're performing on the field. And you've only got to look what Todd Payton has done in one summer, how he transformed the Cowboys. What Craig Fitzgibbon's done in basically a summer, transformed the Sharks. They're a different looking side. The Knights are living on old glories.
I'm trying to tell you they're on their salary cap. They have no money to spend.
Train harder.
And
Buzz, the
Train harder,
forward pack,
train
the
harder.
forward pack is a representative forward pack. The roster is not that bad.
Oh,
but if you talk to other
not a
clubs,
team running
they'll
14th
tell you
roster, I
it's
could
not a
say
team
that.
running 14th roster.
So
Phil.
this is why Peter Parr's come in. This is why they've made this big call to bring him down. His experience, he's won premierships. He's going to make some tough calls, I should imagine. You're saying he's got a press conference tomorrow?
Tomorrow morning he'll front the media at 10 a.m, Braith, and I think he'll read them the riot
There's going to be
act.
some
He'll
big
say
change, you'd think.
it's not acceptable. To Phil's point from earlier, I dare say they will announce Kalen Ponga has been stripped of the
that right?
captaincy.
So you expect
and
that to
they will,
happen?
yep,
Yeah.
and they will breach
I
both
wouldn't sack him.
players and they will fine them.
Why wouldn't you sack him, Kenny?
I would say to him,
Bit of a
because
last warning?
I would say to him, you are the guy that you're the only guy at this club
Use
that,
it as a bit of
that
a-
can lead us out of trouble.
Use it as a bit
and
of a
we've paid you
turning
the
point.
money you deserve. You are the senior player. You're an Origin star. You are the senior player in this team. And I would obligate him
I
to
like
start leading them out of the woods.
But Kenny's taking the mickey. Well, that's
But
you
then-
know,
but
in a
the
town
thing
like
is, but
Newcastle.
you
care.
need,
I don't
but
care.
as much as he's taken the mickey, this guy holds the key to success, whether you like it or not, at the club. They've signed
And they've
him for
invested in
5
him.
years. So someone, and you look at the coaches, and again, you go back to the great coaches, Wayne and Robbo and Craig. You got to get these blokes in your hip pocket. You got to look.
You got to
you-
cuddle
you-
your superstars,
do.
but you got to kick them in the arse at the same
Kick
time.
him in the arse, but this is it, mate. This is your last chance. They should in-house, do some in-house serious stuff over the next 24 hours. Teach him a lesson, scare the you-know-what out of him, and go,
Geez,
come
you're
on,
going
mate.
light.
In a
Look,
town
he was
like-
out. That his team were playing that night for their credibility.
I
He
understand,
said-
Buzz, but if you just go, you're sacked as a captain and you start losing your key player.
Where
like
are-
losing
Exactly.
him, I'm talking losing him.
But where they're taking the mickey, Braith,
The
is
key players had 7 games this year. He's
I
finished.
don't
Yeah, but
disagree
that's
with you,
for
Buzz.
concussions,
On
though, Buzz.
1.1 million.
That's not effort. That's good. Yeah, but that's the point. If you're going to spend that money on a player, you've got to start getting the return out of him. And the way to get the best out of Kalen is not to banish him, not to sack him from the captaincy. I'm not. Yeah.
So what would you do then,
excuse
Kenty?
it.
What do you
I
do
would
then?
bring him in and I would give him the riot act and I would say to him, "You're the guy, mate. You are the guy that's got to lead us out." And I would demand that he starts lifting his standards within the joint and he also starts taking his teammates with him. Because
You're
I've said this
saying
for a
his-
long time about the
you're
Knights. They
saying
are
his-
living on what the guys who have come before them have done, and they are not putting in like
You
the
are
Newcastle
saying his
teams.
behaviour is almost acceptable.
No, it's
you're
not.
giving him a
That's
leave
not-
pass
that's not-
for taking the
We're not
mickey.
saying it's acceptable.
Mate,
Well, you are. That's by
hit
saying
him with a fine. Obviously, money's pretty important. Like that.
Well, he's got plenty.
Yeah, but that was important in his last decision, and it's been important. So hit him where it matters. Give him a significant fine.
You've got to impress upon him how important
But
he
don't-
is and how desperately they need him going well.
Yeah.
And if he's got any sense of decency inside him as a player from a football point of view, he will respond to that. He'll respond to that. You've got to get a response out of him.
Well,
That's what you've got to go for.
Newcastle fans are frustrated because every year he goes and plays State of Origin for Queensland and he plays 11 out of 10 games.
Perhaps that's where
performances, right? And then he comes back to
conversation
club
starts.
football and he hasn't delivered. There's no two ways about it. He has not delivered on the money he's paid.
The interesting thing will be is if he goes to the World Cup or whether he decides to have a summer at home, get himself right and... You know,
How can he go to the World Cup now, Buzz? If he's out for the rest of the year,
Does he want to go?
if he's out for the rest of the year because of concussion, how can he go to the World Cup and then not?
Good player,
Pixie,
mate.
Mel
Great
Pixie.
player.
Yeah, but then he's going to have a 4-week off season, a 4-week summer to come back and spearhead Newcastle
But that's not Newcastle's decision.
back
Mel
towards the
Pixie.
promised land.
Buzz, back to Kalen. Is the NRL going to get involved in this, or it's just Newcastle's?
I think the integrity unit are monitoring it and keeping an eye on what Newcastle are doing and to make sure that, you know, they take the appropriate steps to ensure this does not happen again.
It's got to happen. They'll have to have a look, just based on the precedent last year of the 2 Melbourne players who got caught playing up as well.
Yeah.
And the
Theirs
NRL
was a
came in
bit
and
more
looked over
clear
that.
cut. There was white powder there and there was...
Could have been flour, Phil.
Yeah, it could have been. But what I'm saying is...
The Melbourne,
You know,
the Melbourne CA pointed that out at the
Look, you
time.
can't prove anything there either. But
It's not a good look. It's not a good look, and if you look at the response it's got, which has been huge today, it's not a good look for the game.
Kalen's also
That's
got to
why.
look after himself.
He does.
From a point about his long-term
I
welfare.
agree, yeah.
And the fact that about the habits he's got while he's out injured with a brain injury.